Hello, thank you for joining me on TV10. My name is Assumpta Abayezu. She is specialized in law. She worked with the Amnesty International. She joined L'Oréal in 2012, and right now she is the Executive Vice President of the Foundation L'Oréal. Her name is Alexandra Palt, and she is my guest today. Alexandra, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine too. So, how was the trip?
Great, great until now. I arrived yesterday evening. I had already the chance to go to Nyanza.
Okay.
And so back in Kigali, so I have a very small impression already.
Okay, so are you ready to visit Rwanda?
Yeah, well, not a lot, but I'll try, of course, to know better, understand better, and prepare the week of the 2nd of November, where all our young talents from all over sub-Saharan Africa will come to Kigali in order to celebrate the For Women in Science awards.
Are you planning to stay for good?
So now I'm just here this week, but I'll come back.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Alexandra, welcome to this show. We've been talking about many things, but about L'Oréal and even L'Oréal Foundation and Women in Science, the gala you're hosting in these coming days. So, Alexandra, you've been part of L'Oréal since 2012, and it's been a lot. It's 9 years when you are there. So, in your own words, what is L'Oréal?
In my own words, L'Oréal is a continuous quest for excellence,
Yes.
Creativity, performance, contribution to the world. It is our sense of purpose is to create the beauty that moves the world. So bring beauty products to people that allow women and men to feel better about themselves, to link to others, to connect with others, but also to have a positive contribution to the world.
And next comes L'Oréal Foundation. It might be the fundamental reason for that. Can you tell us the link between L'Oréal and L'Oréal Foundation?
The L'Oréal Foundation is a foundation, fondation d'entreprise, so
Oui.
a company's foundation. So it's L'Oréal that makes available the resources for the L'Oréal Foundation. So of course we also have in the foundation, even if it's an independent organization, but we have programs that are linked to our sense of purpose and to who we want to be in society and what we want to bring to society. That's the reason why we have chosen different issues we are involved with around women empowerment and women's rights.
Okay, that is good. And within the framework of L'Oréal Foundation, there have been different sustainable programs in which women are put in different spotlights. So why did you choose women?
Vice programs at the L'Oréal Foundation.
Okay.
So one program for women in science, I suppose we are going to talk about it a little bit later, but then there are two other programs.
Okay.
One is beauty and well-being treatments for women that are in a difficult situation. So what we found out over the years is that beauty and well-being treatments help women to reconnect after a disease, after a trauma, after having been unemployed, victim of violence. So we are supporting a lot a profession that is called in French socio-esthétique, so that are beauticians that bring beauty treatments to women in difficult situations with this social aspect. So this is a huge part of our work. Then we have a second part, which is women and climate, because women are going to be disproportionately impacted by climate change. Women are going to be the first victims of food insecurity, water scarcity, the consequences of climate change, and at the same time, women are not enough represented at the negotiation tables, at the political decision-making processes around climate change. So we have a program that's called Women for Climate, where we support women, climate activists, negotiators, but also women in communities to adapt to climate change in their agricultural practices. And that's where come in indigenous communities, because of course they also have to adapt and be resilient to climate change.
That is good. Most African countries have met different boundaries where girls didn't have the ability to go to school because of the society, because of the the money, didn't have money to go to school. Even the mentality, their parents, they have that mentality that girl can go to school as boys. And even the decision making that can help the development of their community. And you've been part of many sustainability development programs. So how do you see the African development on women's side?
Yeah, so I have been lucky over the last years to meet incredible African women. Everywhere I go. Last week I have been in Dubai at the World Exposition, and I have met incredible women from everywhere in Africa who fight against climate change, work on adaptation, on resilience program. So I'm seeing, of course, women who are extremely active in finding solutions for their communities, in developing new programs. With L'Oreal we have programs about sourcing of natural ingredients, where we also see what role women play in their communities and around resilience and adaptation. When we look at the whole, of course, we still have to acknowledge that gender equality is not where it needs to be. So what is very clear is that economies, societies that put women at the same level of responsibility as men are more performing societies. Better functioning economies. So it's in the interest of national economies and national and countries to put gender equality policies in place. But the reality, unfortunately, is, as we know, still very different. So what we have seen with COVID is that COVID was impacting a lot gender equality. Women were a lot victim of violence, early marriage, a lot of people dropping out of employment, women dropping out of employment, dropping out of education because choices had to be made. So unfortunately, COVID was a backlash on women's rights all over the world, but also in Africa. And so the work that needs to be done is still enormous. But it is in everybody's interest to do so, so I hope awareness will raise.
Women need science, even the world needs science. So you're hosting the gala evening of women in science, and to be held in here in Rwanda. Why did you choose Rwanda?
Well, Rwanda is a country where there is a lot happening around gender equality. Significant progress has been made about women in public places, about women in responsible positions and so on. At the same time, there is a strong focus on new technologies, on science, on development, and it's a very welcoming country where there's a lot of hospitality. So it seemed after Dakar and Nairobi an ideal choice to come to Kigali.
I think it's the third edition since 2018. Okay, how was the experience? How was the first Women in Science edition?
So, well, actually, so there is, for Women in Science is a program that was created with UNESCO 23 years ago. So there are international awards, one woman from each continent, from each big geographical region. There are regional programs, and for some years now, more than 12 years, there is an African sub-Saharan program. But the issue was it was managed by South Africa. So South Africa has invested a lot in research and a lot in women researchers. So the competition was not equal, because we know that in other African sub-Saharan countries there are no research facilities, very difficult for women to do research. So we decided to split the program. So there is one South African program and one program for a regional program for sub-Saharan African countries with 20 fellows and fellowships for young women scientists who do their thesis or postdoc. So until we have split it, we are also celebrating in an African country, in an African city, as we did in Dakar, Nairobi, and now Kigali.
Okay, according to the Rwanda Ministry of Education, the rate of women in science, they take around 29.89%, and according to the UNESCO, the average total number of women in science, they are less than 30%. So, on your side, what are the main challenges do you see?
Yeah, so well, there are challenges that are all over the world the same, and then there are specific challenges.
Yep.
So what we can see all over the world the same is, of course, obstacles related to education, to getting girls into science, because for a long time, when we have asked children to draw a scientist, they have drawn a male scientist and not a woman scientist. So there's something about perception. There is a lot about obstacles in career development. We know that we have a lot of women who get into studies, but very few who do their careers, who came very, you know, at the beginning. So there is a glass ceiling very fast for women scientists. So these are issues that are all over the world, just as work-life balance, sexism, harassment. We find these issues all around the world. So then we have a specific situation, of course, in sub-Saharan Africa that adds on this, which is that women tend to have children earlier, and research and innovation, research careers are long careers. You know, you do study very long time. So sometimes this is culturally difficult. So a lot of young women have told me, yeah, I had to stop to have my kids, and then I went back to do my thesis or my postdoc and so on.
Yes.
It is something also about possibilities, research facilities, you know, knowledge that these are careers, interesting careers, possibilities, because not just women scientists, but in general African scientists are completely underrepresented in the scientific community.
So what type of fund or just support that women who will get prize in this Women in Science Gala evening will get through L'Oréal Foundation?
So, well, of course, it's a financial support for this young women doing their thesis or their postdoc, but it is also a training program. So before the gala event, they have a 4 days training on soft skills. Because what we see is that women scientists, they are so passionate about their science, very often they forget to think also in career development. So communication, negotiation, management skills, leadership skills, but these are important skills if you want to do a career. And so we train them in these skills so that they can break the glass ceiling faster. Additionally, we make them visible. So they will have media, newspaper, TV, interviews in order to bring their science and themselves to make visible, and also to become role models for the next generation. And then there is the gala event, and then they will stay part of a network of women scientists from all over the world who connect, who share, who support each other.
So the gala will take place here in Rwanda on the 25th of November this year, but it will not only be the evening gala. So are you preparing some workshop where those women can meet up, can share the different experiments they had? Because when it comes to the science, it's about the research. What they did in their different countries. So is there any workshop you have prepared for them?
Yeah, of course. So there is the training, but of course also they will share. They will share, but what is important is when these women come together, it very often they feel isolated, or they do not know that a lot of other women have the same experience. So bringing them together, so they are going to be 40, because we are celebrating also last year's.
Because of the pandemic.
Exactly. So we're also celebrating last year's fellows. Also by coming together, 40 young women who have a lot of experiences in common. This is very empowering, because you feel that you are not alone, that what you have as an experience is something that is a shared experience. And by acknowledging that, the path becomes easier, because you do not think that, oh my God, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing this or that, but you understand that these are systemic obstacles and challenges that you have to overcome together.
So the other question about women in science, we've seen the rate of women who are in science. In Rwanda, it is 29.9%. And around the world, it is less than 30%. So what is this L'Oréal Foundation going to contribute to society? How is it going to help other women to join the science?
Yeah, so well, it's a program it's a huge program that we operate with UNESCO. So first of all, you have this very accomplished women scientists, 5 every year, who have at the UNESCO in Paris an award. There's a communication campaign in all airports around the world to make these women visible. Their research, they're excellent visible, to create role models. We have the fellowship programs, which are here regional for Sub-Saharan Africa happening, but we have also regional and national programs around the world. We have the support for girls in science, so we are working with For Girls in Science.
Okay.
So also to interest girls into science, to make it easier for them, especially those coming from underprivileged communities. So it is about working on all the obstacles that women meet. Role modeling, visibility, career access, financial support and training.
Okay, that is good. I wish I can even go in science. Unfortunately, I chose to be a news anchor and a TV presenter. So let's talk about you a little bit.
Very good.
It's very good. Can you join me as a news anchor? Okay, Alexandra, let's talk about you a little bit. The planet is as your prayer ground. So why did you choose to invest more and more in Africa?
Yeah, well, I have a personal interest and passion for Africa, being myself married to an African.
Oh, that is good.
So I think this is part, of course, of my reason for the continent, but for my interest and passion. But it is also something about really a conviction that, we all know the creativity, the talents, the innovation, the capacity that Africa has.
Yeah.
I think we do have a responsibility as Europeans. But I also think that we need, as a world, Africa to strive in order so that all can thrive. And that might be still a little bit of awareness necessary to everybody becomes aware of that.
So in which field do you want to invest more?
Yeah, well, of course, women empowerment and sustainability. So I think we all have to be very clear that the countries that are going to suffer most from climate change and biodiversity loss are not the countries that caused climate change.
Okay.
But it is very clear that African countries, as South Asian countries, will suffer from climate change. So sustainability issues should be a priority everywhere. Adaptation, mitigation, resilience has to be a priority. So the issues that I would invest would be environmental change, human rights and women's rights.
Which is good. Bill Gates is the one who said that the world is fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic while other people are struggling from the climate change. We saw California, there are some burn cities. We saw where in Canada there was a hot season that killed a lot of people. And when it comes to the cold season, everyone can't even breathe. So investing in fighting against the climate change is a good reason because we are fighting a lot. So based on what you have achieved, based on what you have seen around the world, so what is the vision about the future world? So,
there is not a lot of reason to be very optimistic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Churchill said, being optimistic seems the only reasonable option. So we have to be optimistic. We have to trust in the capacity of humans to find solutions, in their creativity, in their resilience, in their capacity to adapt. But we should not underestimate that change is needed, and change is needed now in our behaviors, in our business models, in our economies. So we have to prepare for the future that is coming.
Okay, which is good. I didn't think that you are an author. There is a book that we saw about corporate activism. You wrote it a few months ago. So it talked about the commitment to social responsibility in business. So can you talk about the main reason you wrote this book and even the title, because it talks about a lot of things?
Yeah, it talks about, it is of course a book that I wrote, an essay that I wrote in a specific context, which is the French context. I'm not French, I'm Austrian, living in a diverse couple, in a diverse community.
Yeah.
And I saw the role of companies change in the last 30 years. I started in the end of in the 90s to work on that issue, and what we see is that companies and expectation to companies change. So it is not anymore business. Historically, the idea was with Milton Friedman, the business of business is business. Nowadays, we see that people have a very, very different expectation on the role of companies. The expectation is that we take part in being society, in contributing to positive change, not just on environmental issues, on social and societal issues. So people, and especially young people, their expectations are completely different. So how do companies respond to that, international companies? How do we respond to a diverse workforce, diverse consumers from all over the world, different in their religions, in their ethnic backgrounds, in their identity, and so on. And so the book is about how a company should evolve in this different situation.
Is the book out?
Yeah, it is out. You can order it even on Amazon.
Okay. Okay. About the last question, in short words, what would a woman be?
What would be a woman be? Whatever she wants.
Whatever she wants. Whatever she do. Whatever she wants.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, Alexandra Palt, thank you for being part of this show. It was nice to have you here on TV10.
Thank you for having me.
I was with Alexandra Palt, and she is the Executive Vice President of the Foundation Laureat. Thank you all for being with us today. My name is Asumta Abayezu. See you next.